Hey, Ben Lawson here. I just spoke to the guys from Poetry in Action.
Ben, thanks so much for giving a bit of your time in this wild time, unprecedented. So we did your poem for one of our shows, International Anthem, and unfortunately we only got to do it for a couple of weeks, but you know, there were many a tear shed by many a kid, and they really related to it. So it was quite poignant. It was very on topic at the time. I just wanted to ask you a few questions. Jared wanted to ask a few questions. So can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, first of all, I want to say well done to you guys. I know that it's been paused, but I did get to see some rehearsal stuff that Bryce sent through to me, and you guys. I mean, I was very moved to see it done so well theatrically. So congratulations to you guys. Look, I was born in Brisbane. I grew up in Brisbane. I you know, in a big kind of Catholic family. I got two older brothers, two younger brothers. When I finished school, I went out to Toowoomba, and I studied at a place called USQ. I always wanted to be an actor, so I went and studied acting out at USQ in Toowoomba, and then I got kicked out. Didn't do the work, which is prerequisite for university. And I sort of moved back to Brisbane with my tail between my legs, and was really trying to be an actor there for a couple of years, and you know, auditioning at the Gold Coast a lot, and eventually moved to Sydney. I went to drama school in Sydney, lived there for 6 years, 6.5 years, and then I moved to Melbourne to do Neighbours for a year and a half, and then I ended up moving to LA. And that was 12 years ago. Been in LA for 12 years.
Wow, that's awesome. Whereabouts in Brizzy did you grow up? I'm also from Brizzy.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
The northern suburbs. We were in like Nunda initially, and then we moved out when I was about 10. We moved out to Castledine, which is
Awesome. That's cool.
What about you? Where are you from?
I'm from the southeast, so like Cleveland, Wellington Point, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, right.
That's cool.
Yeah, Cleveland train's going the complete opposite direction.
Literally opposite direction.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, what's one place you miss in Australia?
You know, people ask that a lot when you live overseas. Like, what's the thing you miss most about Australia? And for me, the easiest answer is the beaches, because the idea that I had of the beaches in California, at least, was that they were pretty amazing. And when you get to LA, you realize that compared to Australia, they're just not. You know, we just have these incredible beaches like that. You know, like our coastline is just stunning. And so look, you know, for me, it's always that when I go home, to be able to, you know, jump into the ocean at some point is always key. Bondi Beach is where I've been staying recently when I go back home. My brother lives there now, so I've been spending a lot of time at Bondi, which when I lived in Sydney initially, I managed a restaurant in Bondi.
Wow.
I was like 20. So it was always a work kind of place for me. I sort of associated it with work, even though I loved it and I would, you know, socialize there and hang out there. But now I really, you know, when I go back, I just get to enjoy it for a week or two. And so Bondi Beach has become really special to me.
Cool.
Nice. What was the inciting incident that made you write your poem? So was there a particular moment, or?
I don't know if there was one moment. For me, it was a bit of a slow burn, slow boil. Might be better. You know, I think over around Christmas time last year, I started to really sort of become aware that the fire season was not usual. And then certainly by New Year's, I was reading a lot of news, kind of addictively, and then you know, and then I remember waking up on New Year's Day feeling really dreadful, like full of dread about what was happening in Australia. It just wasn't. It didn't seem hopeful at all. Usually, when a new year comes along, you sort of have this sense of anticipation and and promise for what the new year would bring, and I had none of that. And I felt very, very far away. And then I started to, I sort of went away for a couple of nights over New Year's. I was living in Vancouver. I went across to the island, Vancouver Island, with some friends and kind of get away. And then we came back on like the 1st or 2nd, and then I was alone again. And so all I was doing was just devouring the news. And it was very, very bad at that stage. And if there was an inciting incident for me, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but at a point, there was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of people chiming in with their 2 cents all over the place. And then one of the narratives that started to gain some momentum was this notion that it was the fires were caused by arson and not by climate change, which was clearly a hoax. And that made my blood boil. When people started to comment on stuff and stuff that I had posted, even saying, it's a real shame what's happening in your country. These arsonists should go away. And I was like, okay, it's very difficult to change the way we think, and if you believe that climate change is a hoax because that's what your political heroes have told you, then it's extremely difficult to penetrate someone who thinks like that. So I felt very, very enraged. And sad, as we all did. There wasn't an Australian on the planet who just didn't feel heartbroken at that time. But I, being alone and being so far from home and being mad, I just had spent enough days just sitting in my apartment alone crying. And then eventually I put pen to paper and I thought, I have to try to get this out, I have to cut myself to get and bleed it out somehow. And that's really, it wasn't a conscious thought. I think I just needed to do something different other than just consume the news. I had to felt like I had to turn it into something to get it out. And then when I did it, I did feel relieved. It felt like I had kind of purged something.
Yeah, wow. Had you written poetry before, or was this something that was new to this situation?
Look, my whole life I've written, not seriously. Like I have, little silly poems and stuff that I wrote ever since I was a kid. But typically, I was the guy who at a rap party or a birthday or something like that, I was pretty good at writing a poem or rewriting the lyrics to a song and kind of being able to, entertain, just something that was kind of just very, very silly. And then maybe about a year ago, I sat down to write the first poem I'd written in years and years. And it was, I felt sad about a girl, of course. I mean, what else is poetry about? I felt sad. I felt like my heart wasn't broken, but I certainly felt like, I was sadder than I thought I'd be. And so I sort of wrote something about that. And I went, oh, that's not bad. It's not bad. I thought it was all right. So then I think by the time the fires happened a few months later, I kind of had, it was in my muscles, you know what I mean? I'd sort of gone, oh, this kind of worked a bit last time. It kind of made me feel a bit better last time. And then I think, it was recent, I'd sort of recently done it. So I felt like I could do it again. And then, then since then I've been doing it more and more, and it's something that gives me remarkable enjoyment. And, it's like a puzzle, really, writing a poem is like doing a puzzle. You just have to, you create the pieces and then you got to get them to fit.
Yeah.
There's a real satisfaction with being able to look at something that you've made and going, regardless of whether whether an audience likes it or not, technically that's perfect. That's a poem. The meter fits, or the words rhyme. That's a perfect poem, and it's like looking at a puzzle when it's complete and going, yep, it all fits.
Awesome.
Right. Well, that answers my next question. So I'm just going to jump ahead. How long did it take you to write it? Like when you started?
Not long.
Not long?
Not long. 2 days. It took about 48 hours once I started writing, and then but I didn't really stop writing. So it was a Saturday night. I went to a bar. What I do, the way I sort of tend to write is I'll write in a stream of consciousness prose, free form, just like, what is it that I want to say? what is it that I'm feeling, and just sort of get it all out that way, or not all of it, but get it a lot of it out in just sort of pages, so I can kind of go, all right, there's what I want to say. Now I just have to form it. I have to put it into a structure. So I'd done that. I think I spent maybe the Saturday a couple of hours just kind of like going, God, look, I love Australia. I for these reasons, but it's breaking my heart to see what's happening. And then, we have no leadership, but also I'm so proud. So all these things that I was feeling, a whole mix of stuff I'd kind of just written down. I didn't really know if it was going to be a poem. I didn't really know what was going to come of it. That sense, but I did go to a bar. I remember when you're away shooting, so there's shoppers everywhere in LA at the moment. When you guys experience this, but when you go away to shoot in foreign cities, you end up drinking at bars alone a lot. So I went and I remember having a beer, and I was thinking about what I'd written, and then I wrote the first 4 lines, and I was happy with the first 4 lines. The place I'm from is far away. She's wide and flat and brown. When looking at a globe, she's just the one under and down. And I thought, I like that. I like that I'm saying that I'm from Australia in a way that I have not seen or heard before. I'm not saying I'm from down under. I think initially I probably thought, I want to say I'm from down under. And I went, well, that's a better way of saying that. And then when I had those 4 lines, I was happy enough with it that I went, now I'm going to, then I knew I was going to write the rest because I was happy enough with how it started. And then it was just and then I just blasted through it. So the Sunday, all I did was write. And then on the Monday, I went back to work after the Christmas break. So I was on set in between takes, going to my, green room and like write on my phone, like in the notes section of my phone, and coming back with like red eyes. And people were like, "You're right." And I'm like, yeah. I'm good. My country's in flames, but I'm good. Sorry, my dog's starting to. Sorry, some dog issues here. So yeah, anyway. So then I was on set, writing, went home, finished it off there. I didn't get to bed until late. I got, that Monday night, it got to a point where I thought I need to go to bed and I'll finish it in the morning. And you guys know what it's like when you just get on something you can't turn off, and you got to go with it. You're crazy if you don't. And I just like pushed through and I finished it and I went, all right, I'll look at it in the morning. And then I woke up and read it and I went, actually, I think it's done. Like I didn't change it a lot after that. So it was really, I just put it down on the page and it was, I didn't redraft and send it around and get feedback. Like it was just like, and I think the way people responded to it is perhaps reflective of just a burst of, I don't know if passion's the right word, but it was, I didn't really overthink it. It was, and I think all the pain and all the things that I just sort of put on the page in a kind of big vomit is what people probably responded to about the sentiment of it.
I have to agree. I think what it did, listening to me when I first watched it on Instagram for the first time, it really encapsulated how I was feeling in that very moment of that very week in the crisis. I think it was beautiful the way you drew on other issues that were going on in our country that was all surrounded by that. I think that really was what made it moving for me. So thank you. Were you surprised at the reaction that it got, the traction that it got?
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. I thought it's a bit on the nose to read a poem into your own phone and post it. Like, it's really not my brand. But I thought if I just post the words, no one's going to read it. Like I could just easily like post a bunch of screens and people can read it, but no one's going to read it to the end. When I recorded it, I looked at it and went, it's 6 minutes long. How is that possible? I thought it would be a couple of minutes. I went, oh my God, it goes for 6 minutes. and then people started watching like the whole thing and sharing it a lot. And people, once it started getting shared a lot, then it really, then it just got seen in huge numbers. And somebody posted it on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, but someone in an Australians in London Facebook page posted it, and there are a lot of Aussies in London, I guess. So then it's kind of took off on Facebook. But yeah, no, of course, I could, I still, incredibly touched by it, that it was seen by so many people, and had so many people reach out to me. I mean, I've been acting my whole life and have never had people react to anything I've done.
Wow.
Really, even close to that. You put one poem online, and all of a sudden, there's this reaction that you go, yeah, it's quite overwhelming.
What were some of the conversations and reactions with your American friends and colleagues?
Well, I was in Canada working. I was, people didn't really know what to say. People in my building who knew I was Australian, or people even at the supermarket would hear my accent and say, what's happening in Australia is pretty bad. And like, what do you say? I'd say like, yeah, it's really bad. Like, how do you respond? People don't really know what to say other than like, shit, I'm sorry, is everyone safe? And you go, yeah, everyone I know is safe. But like, millions of animals are dying every day. Like, it's like, you've seen the photos. It's just, so people didn't really know how to, I think we're all just sort of shocked. And other Aussies that I knew, the show that I was working on was a Netflix show, and a team came up from Netflix from LA to work with us one weekend, and one of the girls was Australian, and we just sort of like we just kind of hugged, like when we met, and I was like, how you doing? And she's like, I'm good, I'm all right, how you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. There was a real kind of like brother and sisterhood of Australians being away from home. That doesn't, yes, as I say in the poem, there is this kind of like invisible connection between Aussies living away from home, but at that time there was a real like, collective grief that bound us together, and it was very unique, and hopefully I'll never have to feel that again. But it was a very strange time. But people, of course, were very understanding and supportive, and hopefully you guys sort of felt, I guess, being at home, everyone's kind of doesn't know quite where to look or what to say, and so much developing every day, and it just it just gets worse and worse and worse. And what do you say other than like, better go donate some money and hope that does something?
Yeah, it was strange. I was I went back for the holidays as well to North Queensland. I went back up to Townsville, and it was just weird being able to finally breathe for 2 weeks. Like, we were in rehearsals, and then just heading back up north was like, oh wow, I can actually breathe. The stuff I was seeing on people posting, a lot of my friends, just saying, I think I have some chest infection. Like, I haven't, I've had this cough for 2 weeks that I haven't been able to get rid of. The air quality is so poor. Obviously, we had the worst air quality in the world there for a while. It's just it doesn't seem real. So it's that thing of this shock of looking at your country and it not feeling real, like it's a disaster movie.
Definitely. Well, what's to change the mood slightly? What's something that's inspiring you at the moment? Something that's getting you through?
Well, as you guys are probably aware, that there's a huge Black Lives Matter push in Black Lives Matter movement has existed for many years, but right now in America, it could not be a bigger deal. So, in the wake of of more police brutality, there have been marches for the last week. LA has had protests for the last, tell me, it's fifth day. So you know, when you say what's inspiring you or getting you through, it certainly is inspiring to realize that this is something that as a white man, that all of us white people who live in places like Australia and the US need to sort of look at what that means and that privilege means. Very difficult to look inward and face something like privilege, because you go, wow, I'm not privileged. You know, I didn't grow up with money. I didn't grow up with this, and I have more people privileged than me. But it's something that everyone is starting to really look at least here in America, and I certainly hope in Australia, because our Indigenous population is treated absolutely abominably. And I hope that the Black Lives Matter movement, the Indigenous Lives Matter movement in Australia are inspiring people as well, because something's got to change, man.
You talk about the place you grew up in your poem. What are some of the scenes of your childhood, or some of your fond memories?
Yeah, you know, I grew up in the suburbs of Brisbane. So, you know, Brisbane's not a beach city, it's a bay city. My memories of childhood are, you know, cycling around residential streets, big wide residential streets in the suburbs, and balmy summer nights, going to the Gold Coast, you know, for summer to meet the cousins who are up from Melbourne, and you know, the smell of jasmine as spring starts to sprang, and then in front of the fireplace in wintertime, we're going to the Blue Mountains, and I don't know, you know, just the you know, Christmas Day by the swimming pool, these things that don't really feel special at all at the time, but then when you're away from them and in another country, another hemisphere, you realize that they are unique. I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, all I wanted was a white Christmas, and I thought it was so lame. I was obsessed with America always, but I thought it was so lame that we didn't have snow. It's like, this sucks. It's nothing like on TV. And I've had a bunch of white Christmases now, and they're just not special in the same way, you know. Like, it's great. You go, wow, this is it. You know, this is what I always dreamt of. But you know, those things that we have of our childhoods that remind us of home, family. Those are the things that I'll always come back to. And to that end, things like Tim Minchin's White Wine in the Sun, and Paul Kelly, you know, How to Make Gravy. These things are so evocative of Australian Christmas, and they don't have to say much, you know, but just, you know, the way they describe a Christmas Day, it may not be exactly our Christmas Day, but they feel so nostalgic for us. We know exactly what that looks like. We can feel it. We can smell the turkey. You know, we can taste the beer. You know, or the white wine, and those things are, you know, they really get me. And I'm a sentimental fool, really. You know, like, it doesn't take too much for me to cry, but you know, when I'm away from home and listening to those songs, I find it very comforting.
Yeah, I remember being in Germany in December when I first heard White Wine in the Sun and just bawling in the snow.
Right, how can you not? You know, and yeah. Thank God for these poets, for these great Aussie poets.
Yeah.
Have you been back in Australia since the fires?
I came back at the end of February for 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
Did you notice a difference in the landscape, the attitudes, was it the same country?
Well, you know, so much has happened since the fires that, you know, it's only just gone June. It feels like this year's gone forever already. But at that stage, we were coming into COVID-19, and I left just before the lockdown started. So the bushfires, amazing though it might seem, felt a long way behind us. Didn't really feel, it just felt like we were shifting into the next concern. So look, the short answer, I suppose, is in terms of the fires, it didn't really feel different other than relieved that, you know, it was done. You know, there were places around the men, people were talking about, you know, taking empty eskies out to these rural towns and filling them up, helping these towns get back on their feet. Certainly, I intend to do that next time I'm home. But we got to get through all this other nonsense first. God damn. 2020.
Never ending, eh?
We were so excited that we were going to be able to do that, go to these, you know, kind of more rural centres on tour and inject some money and some love into, you know, local businesses and stuff. And then like just even more heartbreaking when it's like, okay, well, we got to stay safe and we got to get through this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, speaking on that, like if you could say anything to a little Ben Lawson out there who has seen your poem and has been inspired to write about the current crisis, what would it be?
Look, what I would say is that if you're a young person or even anyone who feels moved by something and is inclined to turn that into any kind of art, you must act on it. If you are inclined to turn your feelings into a painting or a sculpture or a poem or a story, then you're probably an artist. And as an artist, you have a responsibility to your pain. The way that you feel things is probably sharper than the way that your friends feel things. You probably feel the world differently. And then, great news, you're probably an artist. It also sucks because you're an artist. But what I think I've gotten better at as I've gotten older is learning that that is my job, and that you know, if I'm not using that, if I'm not like using that you know, unique pain or that unique sort of way that I see the world and turning it into something, then I'm like wasting the only gift that I have. So look, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's just about cultivating that habit, I think, of recognizing that having that impulse is not it's not that common, and whatever your thing is or things are, whether it's photography or drawing or painting or you know, art, any kind of art, it's crucial because you can change the world with art. You can change the way people feel and think, and I don't think there's anything more important. So, you know, if you're a young person who is affected by, you know, sees COVID-19 as or anything that's happening in the world at the moment, use it. You got to use it, because I can't tell you how many times I've been moved to create something, and I've gone, "Wow, that's a great idea for a poem. I should make a story out of that." And then a week or two later, I think about it, and the impulse is gone. You know, that muse is not there anymore, and I couldn't then make it if I wanted to. It's gone. The moment's gone. So when you feel it and it's eating at you, you got to get it down. You got to use it, and that's what makes you an artist, and not just an emotional young man. We can all be that. We can all be that. We all are that, but we got to be more.
How do you fight that voice when you're looking at a piece of your art, something that's obviously come straight from the heart, and you fight that voice being like, it's not good enough, it's not saying what I want to say, people are going to judge in a different way, like
that never goes away. I mean, that fear of judgment and fear that you're not good enough. I mean, I don't know any artist who doesn't deal with that. Any actor, any writer. I mean, that's just what you live with. That's part of the gig, I think. Yeah. But you know, that dark, it's that self-doubt. It's, you know, that's your darkness. But you got to fight that. You know, you got to fight through it. I don't know, if you figure out a way to to have that self-confidence. You know, I mean, like you have to feel confident to even, you know, to even pursue a career in the arts. You have to have something in you that thinks, yeah, I can do this. I'm different. Even if it might not be I'm better than the next person. It's like I see the world in my own way, and no one else sees it like me, and I'm going to use that. But in my experience, the actors, the writers, the artists who have that unwavering confidence, they're not the best artists. So, you know, the doubt, that self-doubt kind of comes with it.
It's true. Thank you.
What are you reading at the moment? Like, what's on your reading list? And
I'm reading two things. You know, I had them somewhere. I'm reading a book called Revolutionary Road, which is an American classic from the 60s. They made a movie out of it. Leo and Kate Winslet. It's great. The books that I've got shelves and shelves of books here. I'm sort of addicted to buying them, and then they sit here for a decade. So I'm reading Revolutionary Road. I'm not joking. And I'm also reading this book here called The Fatal Shore, which is a classic by Robert Hughes, written 1984 about Australia's founding. Now, this book was recommended to me by a bunch of people years ago. And again, I ordered it from Amazon when, like, you could first do that. And it's been sitting for so long. Anyway, and I was writing something recently about our Indigenous peoples in Australia, and I thought, I was like doing tons of research online, and I was like, yeah, this research, I got this book sitting here I've never read, and I picked it up, and it's unbelievable. So I encourage anyone to pick up any Australian especially, to pick up The Fatal Shore when you have time. It's a big book, but it's such an easy read. And it's really, I think it's making me feel more connected to Australia in a way of, like, understanding. We all learn about the First Fleet. We all know Captain James Cook. We all know about Arthur Phillip. But, like, you know, I haven't thought about that stuff since I was in grade 8, probably. You know, so it's like to really get into the minutiae of the founding of Australia has been so great.
Well, obviously, you live far away from Australia, and I think you feel homesick often. Who's the person that you lean on, you call when you need to get in touch with Aussie and feel like you're back at home?
Oh, geez. I mean, I that would probably be my mum. You know, like my mum and I have a pretty good relationship. We're close. So, yeah, if I'm homesick, I'll call my mum. We'll just have a chat. I'm lucky to have my brother, Josh, who lives in LA most of the time as well. So, you know, having family in the city where you live, you know, on the other side of the world is obviously helpful. It's at home. And now there are tons of Aussies here as well. Like, you know, I have a group of 5 or 6 people from my year at drama school. We were all tight back then, and we're still tight, and now we all live in LA. It's not like we moved out here together, but over the years we've just kind of come out and stayed here. So I'm really lucky. I've got a great group of people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So our last 4 questions are like quick round, and they're
oh shit. Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't think about these either.
That's all right. That's part of the fun, isn't it? Like James Lipton's inside the Actors Studio. So,
yeah.
Who is your favorite poet?
Oh, well, Banjo Patterson's my favorite poet. That one I do know. I love Banjo, and then and Paul Kelly is my favorite contemporary poet. I think he speaks to me in a way that no one else does.
What's your favorite word?
And you're not allowed to say moist.
Yeah.
What does that leave? I don't know. My favorite word, I really don't know. Like this, I don't know. Oh, this is so hard. You know what? I like the sounds in the word wish. I think the word wish to me, for some reason, it was like one of those days in my childhood when, you know, you say a word enough and it just sounds like nothing. It was like, I was doing wish, and I was like, wish, it's so weird, wish. And I said it for a day, and it just like it felt like it was like yeah. For me, it still feels cool to say. I don't know.
Awesome. What's your least favorite word?
Oh, man. Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Again, and not because of what the definition of the word, the way that it's used, it bugs me. And in LA, it gets used a lot. And I'm pro gratitude. I definitely think we should all be grateful and have gratitude for what we have. But unfortunately, it gets used in a way and with a frequency over here that I could do without.
Fair enough. All right. If you had the chance to ask Shakespeare one question, what would it be? To be or not?
Yeah. You're like, what are you on, man?
Can I have some, please?
What are you drinking, bro? What are you drinking? I don't know. Fuck, dude. Again, these are great. I really should have thought about this. I'm sure Bryce has probably 10 amazing answers to this question, but
we're going to play my answers just after yours.
I'd probably ask him to put me in a play.
Please.
Give me a lead. Give me a lead in Shakespeare.
Have you got any final words of wisdom in this really, really strange time, this weird roller coaster of a year? Has there been any kind of little idioms or just?
That's a good question. I don't know. Be kind to each other. It's always good. And listen to people. I think we could all afford to listen more. We're all really good at talking and giving our opinions and things, but it's goes back to what I said at the beginning. Maybe it's hard to have our minds changed about things. It's hard to do that work. To go, maybe this belief that I've held for many, many years, maybe it's wrong. Maybe I don't think that anymore. So I think, that keeping a critical eye on yourself and on what you think and say, and learning from other people's perspectives, particularly at this time of minorities getting amplified voices. It's very important to listen. Otherwise, the world is not going to get better. The world needs to get better. That's all I got.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much
for your words. Awesome.
Thank you for your
guys. No, thanks a lot. You guys have been great, and they're great questions, and really fans of what you guys do. I can't wait for the show to get back up.